Hey there everybody, it's Eternal Snowman here with another episode of BLT Recap and Analysis. This time we're going to be going through the semifinals and the semifinal tiebreakers. So the highlights for last week and the predictions for the tiebreaker. And then there will be a video after the tiebreaker finishes, which will be at the end of this week, going through the tiebreakers and the finals. So let's get straight into it. You know the drill. And I'll be talking about all the matchups that are happening and what my predictions are for the future. So Xskelly versus Pidgeot Mega. This is one of the matchups I said was going to be a 50-50 matchup. Xskelly ended up winning this one. I don't think either player brought especially good teams. There was quite a bit of a Pidgeot Mega brought defensive Mega or defensive Zygarde complete, which is very bad in the current meta because of it's very passive and it loses to even a lot of the threats that it's supposed to check. A lot of Pidon carry HP Ice if they're the special set, and SD can actually power through the defensive set because they often are too passive with the Rest Talk set. And it was kind of shown because it was the primary check to stuff like Duskmane and Pidon in that game, and it lost to Duskmane. So it kind of does show that I think team building is a large aspect of these tour games because it's not only about how you play in the game. You need to make yourself have a good chance coming into the game in the first place. So Xskelly brought a solid team and played pretty solid, and he won this one. Halamon beat Starreal. I don't think either player played very well in this game. I think there was interesting team building choices, but Halamon played better. It was definitely kind of what I kind of expected. Halamon did show up to be a better player though. I don't think Starreal played very well. I don't think Halamon actually played that well either, but he did play better. And that's what mattered in this match, and Halamon took it as I expected. Oras Mega versus Kather. This match was very close. In fact, I would say Oras Mega only won because of he got quite lucky. That's not to say that Kather would have won if not for the luck, because there's definitely different things that would have happened. There was a crucial crit that happened in the game where Oras Mega crit a Suicune, which was close to being able to win the entire game. I think there was ways to play around it on both sides. I don't think that he had to go for the Suicune that early in the game. There was ways to kind of build into it. That said, I don't think it's necessarily wrong because if you try to kind of build towards a sweep, there's ways that your opponent can play around it more. But Oras Mega definitely did get quite lucky in this match, and that's a large reason as to why he won. And then the Welsh Wall beat Keeping It Icy in a relatively solid match. He played very well and just didn't really make any mistake or many major mistakes that cost him the game, and he brought a very solid team and won basically as expected. Prince of All Takus won the Battle of the Undefeateds in this matchup versus Bad Player. He's been very, very good this entire tournament. I think he brought kind of, once again, he brought kind of his own brand of team. It's a little bit offbeat. It's not as weird as some of the other stuff he's brought in the past, but it worked out this time, and he won. Omnis Draco beat Reggie. This was pretty solid. I don't remember too much about this match. I just remember, but I do remember Draco did take this relatively solidly. Same with LC. Jack in My Box beat I'm Just Gray, and Havens lost to TTTX, and Havens has had a relatively disappointing season. I've heard some rumblings about about why he's been put in dough. I just want to talk about that a little bit because I feel like Havens has kind of been doubles has been one of his primary tiers in the past few months, outside of Monotype of course, which is his actual main. But with Monotype not represented, I think doubles was a tier that he was definitely looking at, as he's had some success, including getting drafted for doubles Premier League. And so the reason why I don't feel like he's had the success that maybe some people expected him to have coming into this tournament is because Havens Well, okay, I would say it's mostly because of the competition. I think the competition in doubles has been very stiff, especially at the top end with SMB, TTTX, and She's all being very, very good at their specific or at doubles. And I think that kind of does contribute. So if you kind of look at the matchups that Haven's actually lost, it's not as ugly as maybe his record would indicate. And TTTX has been having a great season, and I've really enjoyed watching his games and seeing him grow as a player on Smogon, and just being able to kind of transition into the doubles metagame, which has kind of grown farther and farther away from the VGC scene, in terms of like viable Pokemon and whatnot, because a lot of what doubles kind of has become in the past few years has kind of been defining itself as a tier, and it's has been less and less kind of similar to the VGC scene, especially in the last few years. So I have been very impressed with TTTX throughout this entire tournament. Of course, this all play kind of transitions from the VGC scene because, you know, the doubles experience definitely matters a lot. But team building wise and whatnot, I do think that he's kind of uh, been able to live up to how much money he was like paid for, basically. So moving on to the other matchup, 100% GXC took down Terracotta. Um, I think Terracotta has kind of, I feel like a lot of Ubers players actually, kind of on a tangent, have taken a lot of steps away from Ubers recently. GXC, I believe he loaded a semi-stall team or a full stall team in this match against Terracotta, and Terracotta wasn't really prepared. Um, and he took a solid win here, if I remember correctly. I don't remember all that much about this match. But GXC has had a very impressive season. A lot of the matches that he's been playing have been in tiers that like kind of um, he wasn't expected to win, and he's in the quote unquote underdog position, and he's still been able to finish at I believe 3-3 clip, a 500 record, or maybe 4-3. I don't remember his exact record, but it's been very impressive. I mean, of course, I don't think all of the matches he's played or lost or won have been 100% clean, but I do think that it's been impressive to see him. And this is one of the first big tours that we like get to see him play in, um, since his like good performance, like in Tours Room in general and TLC. So uh, I've been very impressed with his play, and I look forward to seeing more of it in the tiebreaker. Speaking of impressive performances, Richard Pepper has been very, very good for the Heatrans throughout this entire season. Kind of a surprise because he hasn't had very much success outside of, um, or just in general before this. So he's had kind of up and down BLTs before. He has kind of had um, not so good TLTs before, but this time he's had a really good BLT, being able to beat a lot of like more traditionally established players. And this time he took care of business against Tote as well. And Richard Pepper has been very good for the Heatrans. He like just brought a solid team and won in a solid way. I don't think that um, it's like I think a lot of what makes great teams is that you need to have like underpaid players, quote unquote, uh, in a way that in the sense that I mean you want players that will outperform whatever you bought them for. And Richard Pepper is definitely being one of those players for the Heatrans, who I believe is right now the title favorite. And it'll be important to see how he continues to perform, because I think that he will be a crucial piece to whether or not they win or lose this year. And Ham, of course, also one of those players, even though he did go for the highest or one of the highest in the draft, he is still definitely outperforming that contract, in my opinion, or outperforming that, price, in my opinion, because I feel like Ham has everything that you want out of a star player. He's very good. He went undefeated, but he's also able to help all the other tiers in being able to play multiple different tiers, but also build for those tiers. So he is basically the best like overall value player that you could get in this tournament. And he showed up again. He played well in this match and won pretty solidly against Snowfall. Arsenine kind of continues his streak of fantastic play and being able to beat DJ Brulominati, Spitfire Arcanine, who I believe has actually been able to show up to be very, very good in the past in RU. And I kind of said at the prior to this tournament and at the early stages of this tournament that I believe that he should have been playing RU instead of Lugia Numera. However, Arsenine has been on a complete tear and won this match with now being undefeated, being one of the few players that are undefeated alongside Ham and Prince of All Tacos. So very impressive on him to be able to continue the streak, and it'll be a lot of pressure on him to win this tiebreak as well. And Plumsoul Punks beat Lugia Numer. I didn't have that much to say about this match either. I think Plumsoul Punks played better in a very solid win and basically took care of business as expected. V versus Epic Boost. I think V has shown up to be quite good. I kind of ragged on him a little bit after week 1 because he lost against a kind of got 6-0'd from kind of from preview, but kind of from basically like Ronman led Amon and basically just won with it because of the set. However, afterwards, in weeks 2, 3, and onwards, I've been very impressed with his play. He's kind of been one of those hidden gems for me, and it's also a big reason why I believe that the Heatrans can potentially win the title this year, and in fact are my favorites because I believe that he has outperformed how much he's been bought for. Fristo took care of business in LC, and that was that. And doubles, Shadow Monster should have won this match actually, but lost to Boyne basically on a last turn crit with Volcanion against Scrafty. Shadow Monster brought a kind of interesting team. I believe Fristo built this team, but that's just my assumption. But it was basically a revamped Trick Room team that's like semi trick. I would say it's not like traditional full Trick Room. However, it borrows some aspects, so it used Abomasnow and some different stuff. Necrozma, for example, which Necrozma is actually never seen on traditional Trick Room. It's interesting as a Pokemon because it's so bulky and it has the ability to set Trick Room relatively reliably, but I don't know if that the team that was being used was really that much better than just using stuff like like the solid Bronzong stuff. And then Boyne was using kind of standard stuff. I do think Boyne's team was a little bit outdated, very much not in the current meta in my opinion. It did require him a little bit of luck to win, and I think that Trick Room right now, honestly, against a lot of the meta teams, I feel like has been losing a little bit of stock. Its main kind of boon is that it has just really strong individual mons on it, and that's kind of what has always pushed the playstyle to be strong in Gen 7. But you really have to take advantage of some of those really, really powerful mons. Like, for example, Bronzong wasn't on that team. I think Bronzong, if you can fit it on your team, should definitely be a consideration because of how powerful it is. So with that said, though, Boyne winning does send it to tiebreaker, and that means that there's 2 tiebreakers this week, kind of going into this match of between to determine the final 2 teams for next week in the finals. So for the Stuffles and the Heatrans, they're playing OU, RU, and NU, and for the Blastoises, they are playing OU, LC, and doubles. So basically, let's talk about all of the matchups here. So in OU, 100% GXE versus Ham. Ham is definitely favored here. He has definitely more OU experience. He has, been pretty successful for the UK World Cup of Pokemon team for a few years now, and GXE hasn't had very much OU experience at all. And I'll be interested to see what kind of team he brings because I haven't actually seen him play OU very much. But Ham is definitely going to be the one favorite here. I'm giving it 70-30 to Ham, as well as the fact that he's been on a tear, winning all of his games up to this point. Frisso versus Snowfall in NU. This one is interesting because I think Snowfall has been traditionally kind of the better NU player prior to maybe this year, and it is like what he was traditionally maining before, like recently. However, Frisso has had more recent success in NU, and I think I do put a lot of stock in that. I think Frisso has been one of the top NU players, like in BLT in general. He just has played other tiers as well, so it's hard to say that he's really bad at it or bad at really any tier, which kind of is a reason why I believe Heatrans are so strong because they have two different slots that are just so powerful for tiebreakers, both Ham and Frisso being two of the top players in BLT in general. And with Jordan's support, who was the NU Majors winner, I have to favor Frisso here against Snowfall as well. And I think it's going to be a 65-35 match, a little bit closer than the OU, but I definitely think that Frisso and plus Jordan will be a huge hurdle to overcome for Snowfall, who hasn't been having a great tournament as of right now. And finally, on RU, Ars9 versus Terracotta. I think Ars9 is definitely on a huge tear, and if it is against Terracotta, who I believe is a good player and very solid, I don't believe he's at the level of Ham or Frisso, and he hasn't been having that tournament either. So I believe that Ars9 is definitely favored here. I think if the Heatrans are to win this match, it'll be through Team Builder and being able to kind of craft a very good team against what Ars9 is planning. So I have to favor Ars9 here, though, 65-35, same as the NU match. So I would still say that Heatrans will most likely win this one 2-1, but I do think that the Stuffles are favored in the RU match. And the Blastoises versus the Swamperts in OU, I would say Havens versus Bad Player. Havens has not been having a great tournament, but they decided to put him in OU instead of doubles for this tiebreaker, kind of showing a vote of confidence for him. I do think that he is a very good player and has had more traditional success than Bad Player. That is not to say that Bad Player is like guaranteed to lose this one though. I think that he definitely has a chance to match up against Havens for sure. But I think this one will definitely be the decider of the series, as I think that if the Blastoises are to win this, then they must have Havens win this, because I don't believe that they can take the doubles match here against TTTX. And so I think this is a must win for the Blastoises, but I do think that the Swamperts and Blastoises both will have to put a lot of resources to be able to kind of show who can win this one, because I think that neither player has been proven in OU very much, so I can't really say just by their skill, and I haven't seen them play very much OU either. But traditionally, I would say Havens is favored, with Bad Player having a better tournament overall. But I'll say this one is a 50-50 match. And in LC, Jack in My Box versus Omnis Draco. Once again, kind of similar to the OU match, Omnis Draco has been kind of traditionally a better player, with Jack in My Box having a better tournament. I think Jack in My Box will probably be able to leverage his LC experience better with already having a very good tournament, that I think he will be able to beat Omnis Draco here in LC, but I'll favor him only slightly, 55-45 to the Blastoises. And with the Swamperts, I definitely favor them here in this series, even without what in my opinion is slightly in the favor of Blastoises for LC. I think that they're so heavily in the favorites in Doe. I believe this will be like a 95-5 or a 90-10 match. I would be very hard pressed to see TTTX lose, because I've been very unimpressed with what the Blastoises have brought. Or I shouldn't say that. I don't think that the Blastoises team building has been so superb that I would expect them to win straight through team builder, and I don't think that Xskelly has what it takes to upset TTTX in terms of just playing. So it'll be a huge hurdle to overcome for doubles. Um, However, in the other two tiers, I believe it's close, and I could see Swampers taking both of those matches as well. So it really will be on the Blastoises to kind of win this series, because the Swampers are basically in a very commanding position with TTTX, almost guaranteed to take doubles, in my opinion. So with that, I'm really looking forward to the tiebreaker and the conclusion of the BLT season in general. With next week being finals, this will be the one of the last videos in for this series, um, and I'm very excited because all of the high stakes matches, it kind of does just boil down to like the best players and the best performing players for this entire season. So definitely exciting for me as kind of a spectator, and of course content creator for this kind of stuff. So if you guys enjoyed this video at all, I hope that you leave a like and subscribe, and if you didn't, then just, I don't know what you're watching. So I'll see you guys next time in another BLT video for next week, and until then, keep watching the BLT games.